we get the product, we put it on Amazon's platform, and we all win. And that's partnership. So the question you have to ask yourself, this is the awareness I want you to bring, is, are you doing any of those things? Like, are you doing tech right now in the way that you're treating clients? Are you working and giving people information using tech? Are you educating and entertaining people with the information you know that you paid a lot of money for? And are you making a lot of your money through partnerships, meaning that you have great information, but you have other people that have lots of people that need that information? If you're not doing that, no wonder it's hard for you to make money.
This is Secrets for Success.
Welcome to the Secrets for Success podcast. I'm your host, Greg Todd. Thank you, as always, for joining me. Today, we're going to do the awareness episode. This is going to be an episode that is going to help those of you that know you need to make a change, but you haven't made it. Sometimes what you need is a dose of reality, a dose of awareness. And I realized something. I realized that in every single event that I do, why are they so transformational? I believe it's because I always start the events with getting people to just be aware of their situation. There's no sense in changing if you're not aware that what you're doing right now is not going to get you to where you want to go. And so I want to use this episode to talk about awareness and to talk about some of the things that I think is very important for you all that are listening. I'm assuming you're listening to this podcast because you want secrets for success. And many of you are healthcare providers. Pretty much all of you are people that want to no longer trade all your time for money. And so I want to use this episode to talk about the things that you must understand on why you need to do what it is that I'm asking you to do, which is to leverage yourself. So we're going to go through a few different concepts, a few different things for you to understand. I'll give you some stories behind what it is that I'm talking about, and I hope this serves you in some way. So number one is I want to talk about the value ladder. The value ladder is understanding that we do not get compensated based on our years of experience. We get compensated based on the level of value that we're operating at. There are 4 levels of value. Number one, the lowest level of value is implementation. And when you're at the implementation level, that means that you are doing the thing. You are trading your time for someone else's money, and you are physically working to bring value to the world. And that's how you do it. So you can do that working at a restaurant, and you might be an implementer making minimum wage, maybe a housekeeper, etc. You can also do implementation work being what we are, right? Allied healthcare professionals, okay? And you can make up to maybe 80, 90, some of you maybe $100,000 a year, okay? Implementers are at the lowest level of value though, okay? So when I started my first job as a dishwasher, I was an implementer. I was making like $2 and something an hour. Okay. When I started working as a physical therapist, I was an implementer. I was making $39,500 a year in December 26th of 2000. Okay. So that's what an implementer is. You're doing the thing. All right. It is the lowest level of value. Now, I was an implementer for about 1.5 years, 2 years. And when I got my first, I'm talking as a physical therapist, when I got my first annual review, that's when I realized that, oh my gosh, I'm going to need to change the game, okay? Because as an implementer, if that's all you do, the only way you can make more money is by implementing more, okay? So for me, I made $39,500 a year with Health South. I wanted to make more money, so I went and got another job as an implementer at an ALF about 45 minutes north of where my wife and I's apartment was, okay? And that's how I made more money. So if you want to stay an implementer, you make more money by implementing more. The problem is that you're going to run out of time. Why? Because physically you're doing the work and you're doing it over time, and both of those are 2 limited resources, okay? So when I had my annual review, my boss said, Greg, you've done a wonderful job. You've averaged 3.1 patients an hour over the last year of working for Health South. We are going to give you a 1.5% increase in pay. Now, I made $39,500 a year. That just barely allowed me to crack 40K. I'm like, this is not good. I thought I was going to make at least 4% increase. She goes, the only way you can get that is by becoming a manager, which is the second level of value, okay? Managers don't make minimum wage. Managers make more. Why? Because they're working at a different level of value. It is called unification. Unification is where you are managing the implementers. You're making sure they don't kill themselves. So the general manager at Outback makes more than the cooks, okay? The manager at your local Marriott makes more than housekeepers. Why? Because they are overseeing those people, and it is a higher level of value in the marketplace. So you must understand that we get compensated based on the level of value. When my boss gave me a 1.5% increase in pay, I knew that this was not going to be the trajectory that I wanted to go, even though that's what I thought I was going to do when I was in PT school. Okay, so I was about 2.5, 3 months later, I ended up moving to Tampa Bay because I got a job as a unifier. I got a job as a clinical director at a company called Kessler Rehabilitation. Okay, and I worked there for about 1.5 years, and then I moved to core rehabilitation. And between that time, I was able to increase my pay by 50%. Did I work any harder? No, I didn't work any harder. I probably worked less, but I was working at a higher level of value. I did that until 2005. In 2005, that's when I started my own business. And I still struggled because in my business, I was doing unification work and I was doing implementation work. Okay. I was still managing a few people in my company, and I was making the money through treating patients. Okay. And it still sucks because you're still trading all your time for money, and there's still a very distinct cap. So as a unifier, I was able to make close to 100K. Some people can make up to 150, 200K as a unifier where you're overseeing people, just a higher level of value. You work at Buc-ee's, you know, the gas station, and like Walmart and Mobile had a baby, that place, you can make like $150,000 as a unifier, but there's still a cap on it, okay? Where life changed for me dramatically, where I've been able to increase my income nearly 300x since 2008, is by talking about the next two levels of value. Okay, the next two levels of value is what I implement in my life more than what I did before, and that's communication. Communication is where you are having the ability to message people, and you're messaging lots of people: authors, speakers, salespeople, musicians. They're all communicators. They're able to still use a skill set, which is communicating, but they're able to message it to massive amounts of people, okay? And so there's so much more leverage behind it. So communicators can still be broke, but if you're a good communicator, you're able to make tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, okay? Rihanna's a communicator. Jay-Z is a communicator, okay? The group Bon Jovi's communicators, right? Def Leppard, they're communicators, all right? These, and by the way, good salespeople, the Wolf of Wall Street's a communicator, okay? Like, it's just a much higher ability to leverage yourself. So if you become a great communicator, you can make like 100 to 1,000 times more than a really great implementer. Very few implementers make lots of money as their primary thing of implementing. Okay, maybe LeBron James, Steph Curry, you know, a couple hundred basketball players, a couple hundred football players, a couple hundred baseball players, a couple hundred, you know, hockey players. But there's so many more people that make what these people make and more because they're at the communication level. For me, 300x my income, I would say, close to 300x my income over the last 16 years by just becoming a great communicator, okay? The highest level of value, which is where the big money is made, is imagination and visionary, okay? So that means that I am using my mind to be able to make money. I'm using my mind to see problems and then create solutions to those problems. We have never been taught to do that in school. Very little communication, pretty much nothing when it comes to imagination and visionary. Now, here's the thing I want you to understand about the 4 levels of value. You have to do all of them, okay? I still implement, I still unify, I still communicate, I still do imagination and visionary work. It's just that 80% of my time is spent on communication and imagination. 20% or less of my time is spent on unification and implementation. Whereas in the earlier part of my career, when I was struggling, 80% of my time was spent with implementation and unification. 20% or less of my time is spent with communication and visionary. I hope that makes sense. That is the levels of value. All right. The next thing I want you to understand is the eras of wealth. Okay. The eras of wealth is understanding that there are certain times in our world's history that people were able to capitalize off of new money. Okay. And new money is, there's a new era of wealth. Okay. And that is, it's been different. And what we have seen with the eras of wealth is that that time has collapsed and it has now become much more available to so many more of us. So let me quickly explain the different eras of wealth. We started from the beginning of time to the 1700s, as the way people became wealthy is by owning land. Agriculture was the main way of commerce. You own land, you can build stuff on a land. You can grow things on your land. You could grow things on your land, you could sell it. So those that were that owned land were rich. Those that were offspring of those that owned land were rich because they were offspring. The rest of us were either slaves or we were a slave to the lender, meaning that we had a lord of the land, the one that owned the land, and they allowed us to stay on the land as long as we paid them money. Okay, and so I happen to be part of the former. I happen to be part of a slave family. Okay, and so it kind of sucks because if you're not born into it, you can't become rich, right? And that happened until the 1700s. Then what happened is between the 1700s and the early 1900s, the new money changed. What we had now is we had a problem where we needed to be able to produce more crop. We needed to be able to produce more cotton. We needed to be able to produce more things. So the people that were in the industrial industry were the new rich because they were able to create machinery to make that process happen faster for humans. Okay, so if you were a part of that and you had family that was a part of that, you became the new wealth. You became the new money. Okay, and that's just understanding the eras of wealth. Again, a very limited amount of people can partake in that. Okay, now we get into the early mid 1900s to early 1970s. Okay, and now we're in the distribution era, and that is an era that many of you have been trained in. Okay, so now we're able to make more crops, we're able to make more plants, we're able to make more fruit. We need to distribute it out to more people because now we're cloning ourselves as a society. Okay, so that's where the Walmarts of the world are built, and Sears, and all these different places to where they're able to distribute things out. Okay, many of us in healthcare were trained through this era. Okay, we're trained as service-based people to be able to help others with our skills, our talents. Okay, outpatient centers are starting to be built. This is when a lot of schools are starting to be created. Okay, lots of service-based stuff is happening during this time. All right, and so it's a great era. The problem is that most schools still train people in this era. We're not in 1950 and 1970 anymore. Okay, now here's where things change, and I want you to start to ask yourself and be aware, like, the way that I'm treating right now, the way that I'm doing things, am I doing things in the eras that Greg's about to talk about? Okay, let's talk about the first one. So after 1970, what was created? Well, a problem happened in the distribution era where we're now creating all these different products, we're selling it to people, and we need a way to be able to track what we're doing. So the new money is now in tech. It's in having computers to be able to track inventory. Okay, Sam Walton needs this for his business, right? Publix needs this for their business, right? All these needs this for their business. So do we have a way to do that? That's the billionaire boomers, I guess you can call it. Michael Dell, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates. They become the new wealth because they've created tech to be able to help with this, okay? And that was only the early 1970s to early 1990s, okay? That was a tech boom, all right? Now, in the early 1990s, we still have tech, but we're moving now to information to where we no longer have to rely on a guy knocking on our door and selling us Encyclopedia Britannicas. Now we have information that is readily available online. Okay, we have Netscape, we have Internet Explorer, we have these different ways for us to be able to get information and not have to rely on the 6 o'clock news or the three main channels that we have on our TV. We don't have to rely on that anymore. We now can get information through AOL.com. We can get information through Yahoo, through Bing, through Alta Vista. Okay, we can get our information there. So the people that created that, they were the new wealth. Now, I want you to think of the last two that I said, information and tech. Did you learn any of that in school? So if you didn't, you're still working on a very ancient wealth strategy. And that's why so many people are struggling. And by the way, we're still not done yet. Now we get to the info edutainment era. This is the exciting thing. The exciting thing is now you can use something like this. You can use your phone to be able to give people information. You can use your phone to be able to educate people. You can use your phone to be able to entertain people. This is where YouTube is taking off. This is where people are able to say, hey, I have something that I love to talk about, and I can now use this as a distribution channel and a distribution network, and I don't have to wait for some company to find me for me to be a star. Okay. And so this is where now the regular people like me and you are now having an opportunity to make money and to become wealthy. Okay. And by the way, that's not the current era of wealth. The current era of wealth that we're in right now is partnerships. It's still based off of this thing. See this thing right here? This thing is the iPhone, and the iPhone or Android, doesn't matter. They have this thing called apps, and they have the ability for us to be able to partner with other platforms. So let's make an example of Apple. Apple has a distribution network of the App Store. You have a gift of creating an application. You have the gift. Apple has a distribution channel. You partner with them. They give you 70%. They keep 30%. That's partnerships. Amazon, same thing. They don't create everything, but they create partnerships with people like me and you. We get the product, we put it on Amazon's platform, and we all win. And that's partnership. So the question you have to ask yourself, this is the awareness I want you to bring, is, are you doing any of those things? Like, are you doing tech right now in the way that you're treating clients? Are you working and giving people information using tech? Are you educating and entertaining people with the information you know that you paid a lot of money for? And are you making a lot of your money through partnerships, meaning that you have great information, but you have other people that have lots of people that need that information? If you're not doing that, no wonder it's hard for you to make money. Okay, that's how I make my money today, through partnerships, through educating people, through using tech, and basically giving out information. Like, that's it. And every single one of you could do that. But if you're not doing that, you're working in an antiquated, ancient way in the 1950s and 1970s. Okay, so that is the second awareness piece that you must understand. Now, let's talk about the third awareness piece. And the third awareness piece is what I call the 30-40-30 model. And it's something I learned when I was at one of my first ever events that I've paid for, like personal development events, not your typical CEU stuff, but it was through the Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. And on the second day of the event, he explained the 30-40-30 rule. And he said, this is what people that have become millionaires understand when it comes to allocating their money. And he said 30% of your money should be for your expenses. That's your rent, your mortgage, your car note, your food, entertainment, etc. 40% of your money you need to allocate for taxes. It's like 40%, that doesn't make sense. It's like 25%. It's like, no, when you think of all the things that you pay pre-tax, and think of all the things that you pay post-tax, think of your cell phone bill, think of your food. It's like about 40% of your money is being allocated for taxes. It says unless you have a business, it might be closer to 30%. So if you have a business, just flip that 30 and the 40. 40% is your expenses, 30% is your taxes. If you don't have a business, 30% is your expenses, 40% is your taxes. And then the other 30%, he said, if this is for those of you that want to become a millionaire, you need to have 30% that you're allocating towards building assets. Okay. And I was like, okay. So I started looking at my account and I realized that I'm nowhere near that. And that day changed my life, because I started to realize that I don't make as much as I thought I was making in order for me to be on a path to becoming a millionaire. But when I heard that from T. Harv Eker at his Secrets of the Millionaire Mind conference, a year and a half later, I became a millionaire. And I just needed to understand that. So that's a really important component that you need to understand. Are you set up right now to be able to live off of 30% of your money? Are you right now set up to be able to have 30% of your money to where you're building assets? If you're not, then you need to reconsider what it is that you're doing, okay? All right, the fourth thing that I think is extremely important is understanding earned income versus assets. We have been trained through school to only focus on ways to earn more income. Many of us choose a total career path based on what is the income that we can earn. I know when I became a physical therapist, it was all about, okay, what job can I earn more income in? All right, should I become a physical therapist? Should I become a doctor? Should I become a pharmacist? Should I do this? Should I do that? And it was all about, okay, how can I earn more income? And what I've come to realize is that no matter what type of income you are focused on, there's only so much you can earn, because there's only so much of Greg Todd. Okay, there's only so much of my time. So what I really think has been a game changer for me is focusing more on assets. So what is an asset? An asset is a way for you to be able to make money without you physically being attached to it. An asset is basically owning some type of property. So what is a property? Does it have to be a home? No, it doesn't have to be a home. I mean, that is one, but another type of property could be a business. It could be digital property. It could be a blog. And when I started to focus on, okay, I need to build assets. My focus needs to be not on earning more money, but on building assets. Assets are something that can work with or without me. So there's been times where I can't work for whatever reason. It might be physical, it might be I have something going on at home, might be this, might be that, whatever the case may be. Okay, but I have assets, and those assets will work with or without me. Okay, I have real estate assets. So like today, I have people checking into one of my real estate assets because it's a short-term vacation rental. Okay, next week I have the same thing. All right, I have commercial real estate assets. So I have a dermatologist. A dermatologist. They are leasing my asset. Okay, and that makes me money whether I work or not. But even more importantly is I have digital assets. Okay, and the digital assets allow me to be able to make money all the time, and I don't always have to be tied to it. And so because of that, I'm able to make money 168 hours potentially a week instead of the typical 40 hours a week. All right, it's all about having the asset. Okay, all right. The next thing I think is really important to understand is level 1 versus level 10 opportunities. Okay, so this was a really, really big thing that I needed to understand when it came to what type of work was I doing, because I knew that I was willing to work hard, and I'm assuming you're willing to work hard as well, right? But the reality is this, is that are you working hard in a level 1 opportunity, or are you working hard in a level 10 opportunity? Okay, so level 1 opportunities, you can work hard, but it's only going to give you so much because it's a level 1 opportunity. So how do you decipher what's a level 1 versus a level 5 versus a level 10? Well, there's a couple questions you can ask yourself. So number one, can you help people with you not being physically in front of them? Okay, if you say, no, I have to physically be in front of someone, well, that's a lower level opportunity. Okay, can you only help people one at a time? Okay, if you can only help them one at a time, like you have to see a patient and evaluate a patient or treat a patient, you can only do one at a time. That's a lower level. That's a level 1 opportunity. Okay, so if you can only work with one person at a time, you have to physically be in front of them. That is a low level opportunity. So it doesn't matter how good you get in that. It's very, very, very capped. Conversely, you can, and by the way, you can be the greatest at it, but you're capped. I also can have a level 8, level 9, level 10 opportunity. Those are opportunities that can work where I can help people regardless of where I'm at. Okay, I recently went through some national disasters in my area, right? But I was still able to help thousands of people the week of the national disaster. And then the week after that, we had another national disaster, okay? And so I was able to help hundreds, if not thousands of people that week. Why? Because it was not tied to my geographical location. It wasn't tied to me physically being in front of someone. It was a great opportunity. Many people need what it is that I was offering. So that is a higher level opportunity. So it's not just about hard work. It's about working diligent in a higher level opportunity. So ask yourself that, like, what is the current opportunity that you're working in? And if you were to double the amount of work that you're doing, is it going to double your income? If you were going to double the amount of work you're doing, is it going to hurt your body, right? So these are things that you need to be thinking about with regards to the higher level opportunities versus lower level opportunities, okay? And then the last thing that I would like for us to discuss is internal versus external economy, okay? I used to think that based on the economy, that is how my money was going to work for me or not work for me. So if people said, oh, the economy is great in America, that means that I can make more money. People say, oh, the economy is going down right now in America. It means I'm going to make a lot less money. Okay, that's called an external economy. So understand that there's different types of external economies. Okay, there's the global economy. There is the national economy. There is your state economy. There is your county economy. There is your current niche economy. Okay, so These are all different economies. These are all external economies, okay? So the global economy might be amazing, but your national economy might be terrible, right? So like globally, the economy could be pretty good right now, but there are certain countries where their economy is not good, right? These are all external economies. And usually there's never a time where all external economies are good, okay? Now, there's the one that matters the most, which is the internal economy. That's your economy. Here's what I know. I know that regardless of what economy is going on, there are people that make lots and lots and lots of money because they're always looking at what are the problems right now that are available for me to solve in this economy. Okay, I'm going to give you the example of the natural disasters, right? So there's a natural disaster. Natural disaster means that the local economy is not doing as well, but that doesn't change anything for people in Iowa. Okay, their economy is fine. Like nationally, the economy might be good, but internally here in my area, which is Tampa Bay, not so good. Okay, now, does that mean that everybody's struggling in Tampa Bay? No. If you're a roofer, you're killing it right now. Your internal economy, great opportunity. If you have a very high level of internal economy, meaning that you're like, okay, I see many problems. By the way, roofers that are in Louisiana, roofers that are in Tennessee, roofers that are in Massachusetts, this really smart one said, I'm coming down here and I'm going to go and help the Floridians right now, okay? And so you must understand that at all times, the economy that you have full control over is your internal economy. Are you looking at the problems that are available for you to be able to solve? If you're looking at the problems that are available for you to be able to solve and you are actually doing something about it, you will thrive and prosper regardless of what is going on in any of the economies. These are the things that you guys must be aware of. So I want you to think about the things that I just said. What level of value are you working at? What era of wealth are you currently working at? The 30-40-30 rule. Can you live off of 30%? And are you currently allocating at least 30% of your money to start to build assets? Is your focus strictly on earning more income, which is limited, or is it focused on building assets? Are you working primarily inside of your internal economy and working on how to improve and build your internal economy? What type of level of opportunity are you working at? Level 1 versus level 10. These are the things I want people to be aware of. If you're not aware of it, there's no reason to change. There's no reason to change. But if you are aware of these things, you realize, whoa, doesn't matter what I do, nothing's going to work for me unless I change, then you will change. And the change is what I call alchemy. So we'll talk about that on one of the upcoming episodes, but I hope this served you. And if you want to give me your takeaways from this, please, you can text me at my mentor number, which is 813-534-6453. You can give me your big takeaway from what you learned today. All right, see you next time.